we got the call blast unit. We've got cameras, digital camera, spotlight, IR spotlight, life vest, parabolic, plenty of gloves, and life preservers. And we're gonna go squatching, dude, right here on the Trinity River.
I'm Mike Hall, and we're here to find the truth by seeking the legend.
It's a cold December weekend, and it's going to be a clear night. I think we're in an area that's, I mean, you got private property on this side of the river that is inaccessible because it belongs to oil companies. And the opposite side of the river is inaccessible because it belongs to the power companies. And so you got a stretch of river here that has thousands of acres of woodlands that you can't get into. So how do you access this area to find out what's going on? You use the river, and that's what we're going to do. We got the boat. We're going to jump in, and we're going to cruise the river tonight. We're going to call blast. We're going to film, and hopefully Biggie will show up. Come on.
Well, we have the redneck steering, as you can demonstrate. So, yeah, no steering. So we went through the old days of manual tie oar to the motor.
Yeah, we strapped an oar to the motor.
Is that working for you?
Yeah, it's working.
All we needed was...
Is that because we're like redneck engineers, right?
All I need now is some bubba teeth, and man, we're good to go.
And we did use a crescent wrench, but we didn't use duct tape, but it would have worked. Would have worked fine.
This is a lot smoother. I mean, other than the situation of we've gone back to the redneck version of, like he was calling it, the redneck version of our boat motor, because we have no steering. We had to bungee strap an oar to the top of the motor and disconnect the steering column. And we have a throttle man and a steering man, and seems to be working pretty good. But other than that little misadventure, we're going upriver fairly well, and we'll be able to drift downriver pretty much without a motor, with the speed of the current, and go to various locations along the river and do some call blasting. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm glad you guys are along for the trip, because right now it's really a trip, man. This is as reality as it gets. Hey, we have problems, and it's a thing of adapting and overcoming obstacles, and that's what we're about, man. And we're gonna go squatching, you know, the heck with the weather. Doesn't matter what kind of mechanical problems we encounter, we're gonna go squatching, man. And we're right in Biggie's backyard. Believe me, he's in here. Maybe we'll get lucky and see him. That's the cool thing. Now you can see around us, this is pretty desolate as far as human activity and things. I mean, we're traveling this river, and it's pretty wide and deep. And we're currently just cruising upriver, and there's been a lot of reports in this area. So for us, it's the first time we've ever actually researched from a boat. Wish us luck. Now Ben, I don't know if you've seen our little headphones.
Oh, the thing holding.
Now, if you guys need hand warmers.
I'm good right now. I'll wait till we're like suffering.
I think we're fine, because the south wind is bringing humidity, moisture, and that'll knock the edge off the cold. I mean, it's much better to have the south winter breeze than the north, right?
Yeah.
So,
Those coyotes were a lot closer than they sounded. Simply because of the way the wind's blowing.
Yeah. We'll wait for a while. We'll just wait for a while now, and we'll see if we get anything to answer back. All's quiet. You're prepared for what happens, and that's usually when something happens. I'll give a prime example. We got out of the truck one night, not too far from this location, and on a back road, and I mean, no sooner than we shut the doors to the truck, something about 200-300 yards away let out with this, I mean, just bone-chilling scream, and we missed it. We had no recorders going, we had no cameras going, had nothing. Luckily, about half an hour later, it did it again, and by that time we had everything up and running. We were lucky that time. We've had other incidences where we got out and it happened immediately, and we weren't ready, and it didn't happen again. Within the last couple of years, there's been one particular sighting was an early morning daylight sighting, maybe a mile south of here, along the highway. Early in the morning, there's two gentlemen in a pickup truck, and it was an open field area coming to the river, and the gentleman in the passenger said, "Hey, look at that bear," and they looked, and what they saw was this huge upright walking figure, kind of a reddish brown in color, and they pulled over onto the shoulder of the road and stopped and actually sat there. The driver got out and stood looking across the hood of his car and watched it as it crossed this open plain for 2 or 3 minutes. And I asked if it went down on all fours like a bear would. He said no, never went on all fours. It was always upright walking. He said actually very smooth in its gait, and just continued across the field till it got to the wood line, and then just disappeared into the trees coming to the river. So we have that one, and we have another gentleman that was chased out of the woods in this area while he was on a deer hunting trip a few years back, and so we're right in the heart of what I think is probably prime habitat. I mean, like I said, you've got very little human encroachment in this area, simply because it's oil field, oil land that's been leased by the oil companies, and they've got those locked off. The opposite side of the river is wildlife management, and actually certain waterfowl type of preserve. So going in there and doing call blasting and things like that, it's just not a feasible thing that the state's going to want you to do. But being on this river, you've got really access to both sides, and you know, here we are. Now you heard the coyotes a while ago, and we're up on the bank here by the fire, and listen around you. No crickets.
Over time as well.
Yeah, no crickets, no bugs, no anything. So anything that does significantly happen, we should be able to capture it and hear it really well.
That hard freeze last night.
Yeah,
Killed off a lot of the bugs.
Yeah, hard freeze last night probably killed off a lot of the bugs and everything. So you're not going to hear those, and crickets and stuff are quiet. And I mean, just listen, it's really eerily quiet.
Oh, you just blasted a screeching yell.
Yeah, well, yeah, that could shut things up too, you know. I mean,
Well, you know, and as we've been out and stuff like that, too, one of the things that we have noticed the few times that we've gone out with different groups, you know, some other groups and stuff, is that the crickets, when you start getting some activity, like if you start getting
yeah.
some howls back, or if you start
yeah,
getting,
it stops
the crickets will stop, and you'll hear crickets over here, and you won't hear crickets over
over
there.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've had that happen to us a couple times when we were in situations where we were actually sitting on top of an empty oil storage tank, which is about 60 feet high. And we got up there with our call blaster and our chairs and our mics and everything, and we started call blasting out, and we started getting response calls. And to the back side, away from the main road, a little dirt road, was a slough behind this thing. It was full of tree frogs and crickets and everything going off. And this call started getting closer and closer. Those things shut up and they didn't make a sound. And then the return vocals stopped, and you could hear movement. Something large was moving just inside the tree line where we couldn't see it. Even with night vision, we couldn't see it. And you could hear it moving, and as it would get to the opposite side of the tank from the slough, the frogs and stuff would start up. As it made its way back around and come back closer, they would stop. And it wasn't making any sound, it was just presence.
Unless the idea of the infrasound.
Yeah, infrasound, you know, and you know, that's the possibilities, infrasound causing, you know, and that's another theory that's out there, infrasound, that these things can emanate, because there's been reported incidences where people not having seen anything but heard movement or something, and then all of a sudden get this overwhelming sense of dread. Something
That's what we heard last week. That's our funny pig snarly sound.
Yeah, but that's something that just grabbed a freaking pig. Oh.
Footfalls. That's the sound we heard though, is that big long squealy squawk.
Okay, I'm just mentioning that was freaky, and I've never heard that.
That's what we heard Monday last week.
Now that's
We couldn't identify. Sounded kind of like either a pig being crushed and squealing for last time, or imitating a pig while it calls out. That's what we heard right there last week.
Okay, that was on this side, guy.
No, it was over
across.
there.
It was across,
It was just upriver a little bit.
but that was pretty loud compared to what we heard
It's
last.
close. I mean,
It's a little closer sounding than what we heard last
Yeah.
week, but that is our mystery noise. I got it right here.
Did you catch that? No. There's a thud back over there.
When y'all were in this area last time, 3 knots response.
Yeah.
Good.
We only got